This woman was being interviewed and she looked beautiful and she said, I come from Pleiades. And I looked at it and I remember like something in my brain clicked and I was like, I'm also from there.
Welcome to New Earth Podcast, where we dive into inspiring stories, profound wisdom, and insights from remarkable individuals who are driving the consciousness shift on our planet. If you're ready to elevate your awareness and well-being, you're in the right place. But before we dive into today's episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Together, we'll continue to explore the ideas and conversations that help you up-level your consciousness. Thank you so much for your support and your comments and for being part of this journey. Hello and welcome back to New Earth Co-Creators. Today, I'm delighted to have with me Althea Lucrezia. Is that correct? Am I saying that correctly?
You said it so well. You didn't ask me beforehand how to say it. Usually I get asked beforehand how to say it. So done.
I'm learning. I'm doing my A2 Portuguese at the moment, so I'm sort of I'm learning a little bit the accents of different European a little bit, but I'm still sound very English. Althea is originally from Italy, but she now lives in South Africa, and she is a light language transmitter and a psychic medium, a multidimensional healer. And Althea's work is frequency-based and deeply embodied. So we're going to be talking today about light language as a form of energetic technology, its relationship to the DNA and the light body, and Althea's lived experience of working with the higher dimensions and galactic frequencies. So stay tuned as well, because Althea is going to do a light language transmission towards the end of the podcast today. So looking forward to that one as well. Welcome, Althea. Wonderful to have you on the podcast.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
So for anyone not familiar with your work, how would you describe it to people?
So that's a good question. I really just help people anchor into the better version of themselves. And, I do that through a different set of tools that I've learned and crafted throughout my years as a channeler, as an ET contactee, as a Reiki practitioner, as a yoga teacher as well. So I've got a different set of skills and tools that I assist people with. I work a lot with light language, which is a healing modality, in my opinion, that is, the new technology that's coming into Earth to assist the ascension, the awakening process, the collective. There's a lot of these very exciting new tools that are coming through, left, right, and center. And I think it's important for everyone to, kind of like be open. So yeah, I take people through courses. I train people to do what I do. I'm running a light language and ascension training in Los Angeles in February of this year. So I do quite a lot. I'm quite versatile. I run retreats as well, all over the world. But yeah, basically, I work organically with everyone that comes to me.
And you're talking about light language. How would you define light language for those that aren't familiar with it?
So it's a direct expression of a frequency that comes through from the heart center. It can be expressed in different ways. It can be expressed as sung, danced, spoken. It can be also, through certain movements. It works with the sacred geometry as well. So it's basically like a universal frequency that is galactically imprinted in my case. You do have languages that are channeled that are more earth-based. People have been channeling and speaking in tongues since the beginning of time. So this is, to me, in my understanding, kind of like a galactically frequency anchored evolution of that. And it can appear as symbols, and people can see it in the dream space. It can appear as different shades of light. And so it's just a new healing modality. I like to see it that way, that bypasses the conscious mind, works directly on the DNA structure, on the frequency, on the energy field of the body. It works beyond the constraints of space and time. So I can channel light language now. It can be received tomorrow, or it can be received yesterday from whoever needs to receive it. So the funny thing, it's quite interesting. Sometimes, well, often, like about 70% of the time, I get clients, they come to me and we have a session scheduled, let's say on the Tuesday, and they're like, but like I started feeling healing like last night. And I said, yes, that's what happens. It's very normal. So in this way, an aspect, I think it's a very versatile tool that you can also code if you know how to use it, and send it into a specific space or time-space continuum within the system and energy field of the person receiving.
That's so interesting. And do you feel that when you're channeling light language, firstly, how do you experience that? How does it move through you? Is it very somatic? Is it heart-based?
Well, yeah, it does come through the heart center, but it moves through my whole system and energy field. So my system doesn't really operate as a chakra system anymore. So it's kind of like one big chakra of crystalline platinum white light. My channel is embodied and integrated, and my channel within itself is also multidimensional. So the way that I channel and I open collectively is different to when I channel and open for the individual. That is different to when I channel and open for myself. That is different when I channel and open in a room full of like 500 people. So it's light frequency that moves through me, to answer your question. Sometimes I will see the direct geometry come through my third eye. A lot of the time is movement and it's felt. Sometimes when I move, like my hands will create the actual geometry that anchors within the matrix structure and quantum field of the third dimensional density where we are now, in order to assist the baseline vibrational frequency of that. Sometimes, it's directly like coming out from the heart center. Sometimes, it funnels through the throat. It all first comes through the heart, and then it kind of like goes, for what is needed at that moment in time. It feels amazing to me. It feels beautiful. It feels warm. Sometimes it feels more energizing than others. It never really leaves me drained. Sometimes people ask me, but you channel and you get exhausted. Not really, because of this multidimensional aspect of self, I don't really use that much of my physical. My physical kind of like is just the vessel. So yeah, I'm sure other channelers have different experiences, but this is kind of like how I've learned to navigate with it.
And in terms of the receiver, do they need to be in a particular state to be able to receive? Do they need to be in their hearts? Does it depend on, where they're at in their journey as to whether they can receive it, or is it just, does it just come in? Does it just seep in no matter what?
Well, I mean, there is, the law of sovereignty. So someone needs to be open and accepting. So if you're here and listening to this, you will be receiving and integrating. The level of integration, what you receive, is up to your own system and energy field. The codes are intelligent. They will go where they're needed. Sometimes if you're not ready to receive, what happens, you'll maybe receive 50% of the transmission. The rest will kind of sit around you, and maybe you'll integrate it the next week, or in the coming few days. So it's different for everyone. But, if you are here listening and open, and you're, then it means you're sovereign. You sovereignly have agreed to receive it, and so your system, in one way or another, will integrate and receive.
That's amazing. And do you feel that it's more about a frequency coming into the receiver, or more like acting as a catalyst that enables interference to be cleared, so that then the receiver can then self-regulate?
Well, I mean, in both cases, it's still a frequency that's being received, whether it's catalyzing or integrating. But again, it depends. So when I do collective clearings generally, and you'll see if you stay tuned, for everyone who's listening to the end, I will go in and the codes will go in. I'll open the systems, I'll clear, and what is what is needed will kind of like come out and be released. Then the codes will go in and integrate, and then the system will close and then anchor in that way. But everyone is different. Like, I will do a transmission and maybe you will feel it in your stomach, someone else will feel it in the third eye, someone else will feel it in the lower back. It's really very dependable on the individual.
That's interesting. As you're talking, I'm looking at your tattoos and they feel quite energetic to me. Do they assist you at all when you're working?
Yeah, so my tattoos, all my tattoos are channeled. And so what happens, so like this one's a portal, these one here are also portals, this one's a portal. And what happens is when I actually channel, if people watching have vision activated, you will see they will open up and become like channels of light. So I will have light coming in through me, through these kind of like portals that I have, that I was called to kind of like draw on my body and system.
And what do you feel a portal is? Is it a way of energy coming in, or are you accessing something, another dimension?
So it really depends. I mean, when it comes to every portal is different, but generally a portal will amplify what you already are and what you already have. So because there's a difference between portals and wormholes. Hey, wormholes navigate through dimensional density, and portals can be into anywhere. They can be from one room to another. They can sometimes occasionally navigate through dimensional densities, but they don't break the time-space continuum like a wormhole would, for example. So a portal will amplify what you already are. So if you have a portal in your house and you are sad and angry, it's going to bring in a frequency that's aligned with that. So I always tell people not to really keep any portals in their house. If they are there, to actually seal them and close them, because it's just kind of like safer that way. And then you'll have those portals which are kind of like fixed within a set vibrational frequencies. That would be an altar space. So your altar space, because in your altar, there's a lot of gratitude, of love, of compassion, you're calling in your guides. That would be a portal that is set at a baseline vibrational frequency and only brings in what you kind of like have attuned it to bring in, basically. So that's a portal with a conscious awareness based on a specific vibrational frequency. I could hold a whole lecture just on portals. Sure. So much that goes on with them, but that's kind of like the baseline of it.
Yeah, we're just dipping in here and kind of skimming all these different topics. Maybe we'll go deep on some of them. You're talking about different dimensions, and I mentioned in the beginning that you're a multidimensional healer. Can you speak to what the different dimensions are from your perception? We've had various people on talking about the dimensions. I when I was looking up your work, I also saw that you work with different dimensional aspects of yourself. Is it one that's a mantis being and another that's collected, from the Pleiades? Can you speak a little bit to that as well?
Yeah, sure. So do you want me to speak about the dimensional densities first, or about the beings that I work with?
Yeah, well, whichever, but they kind of go together. So
yeah, so I'm going to just briefly touch on so that people can understand how I operate and work within the dimensional densities. So in the first dimensional density, something just is, okay? It just is. And then the second dimensional density overlaps the first one. Now something just is, and it has consciousness of being, okay? So you have dimensional densities that you exist in, and then you have evolutions of soul's consciousness within dimensional densities, which is two separate things. Then you have your third dimensional density, which something is that has consciousness of being. It can now take action. However, it is still limited by the constraints of time and space, okay, which is our 3D where we live now, basically. Then you have your 4D, which is your astral space, which is kind of like overlapping and merging within the 3D, where something is that has consciousness of being. It can take action. It is now only limited by space, not time. When you are in your astral space, you can manifest instantly, but you still need to fly, walk, and move to places. When you get in your 5D, you now have no more limitation of time and space, so you access what is more kind of like the quantum realm, okay? Then you've got your 6, 7, you've got your high dimensional densities going up. So these are dimensional densities that you can exist in. The soul also needs to move through different aspects of dimensional density. So when a soul first separates from source consciousness, it's like, oh, I'm air. So now it's like it needs to do like, I don't know, thousands of eons as air. And then it slowly becomes into maybe like a rock. And then from the rock, it goes into, you know, a high dimensional density, which maybe could be your leaf. And then from the leaf, it goes into like a flower, and then the tree, and then it will get into your ant, and then your cats, your dogs, you know, your elephants, whatever, and then your humans, and then your high vibrational frequency beings. So I have higher versions of myself that I multidimensionally integrated within this reality that I operate and work with. So one of them is a ninth dimensional Pleiadian version of me that comes in and assists me when I'm channeling, when I'm clearing. And I mean, they pretty much integrated 24/7. I don't really even need to call, they just kind of like always there, because they also operate on multidimensional levels. And then I've got a 12th dimensional mantis being version of me that is very connected to my lifetimes with an ancient Atlantis. And this is another being that I work with, where I pull through. You can see there's a code up here, there. So that was channeled, that's all hand drawn, and it was channeled with the assistance of this version of myself. It's still me, it's just me existing in different dimensional densities.
And you mentioned earlier that your light language is outside of time and space. So presumably it's operating in that quantum world, which is the realm of potential and possibility. What does that enable for you working outside of time and space?
It's so funny. I actually had to speak about this at the conference last night, because a lot of this time thing has been coming up. So I, for example, can control time. I have a workshop on my website as well, if anyone here is interested, about time control methods. Once you start operating from 0 point neutrality, which is that quantum field, you can actually learn how to speed up and slow down time. And it was so funny because I tested this a few years ago when I was taking my kid to school, and it didn't matter what time I left the house, I was never late. Like the drive was maybe like 20-25 minutes, and I had to be there, let's say, example, 8:30. Whether I left at 8, 8:05, 8:15, or 8, I would always get there on time. And I didn't understand. And then I started testing it, and I was like, oh, I'm actually focusing and I'm actually slowing down time so that I get there and I am on time. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do. From navigating the quantum realm, you can really anchor into these spaces of abundance and manifestation, attracting everything it is that you desire. And obviously it's easier said than done. But I like to work on a practical level a lot with the emotion of gratitude. Gratitude will set you in a space of abundance. And if you're grateful for everything that you have, you're going to attract more of what it is that you want. But the kind of like paradox in this is that when you start operating from the 0 point neutrality and you want to manifest, it can't come from a space of need, because need puts you in a space of lack. And that's counterproductive and takes you outside of the 0 point neutrality in the quantum field. So the best way you can actually like work on being in that space throughout your day is with the gratitude and working on responding instead of reacting. So allowing your emotions to come true, but not letting them dictate your life. So acting based on your kind of like groundedness and your logical, and not based on your emotional side. So again, this is a whole other, I have like 3 lectures on this on my website if anyone wants to go deeper, because it is, 0 point neutrality and the quantum field and the manifestation is one of the popular subjects that a lot of people want to learn about.
It's fascinating stuff. And, this whole piece about being able to slow down time, I bet there's a bunch of people at home going, I want a piece of that, because time just seems to be just speeding at the moment. Because, do you understand as well that, in the higher vibrations, time can kind of move more quickly, when we get out of the density, and it just seems to be speeding. So can you speak to that a little bit? How we can use it to kind of help with overwhelm, really?
Well, it's just more fluid. So if you're doing a lot and you're taking aligned action, you're dictating your reality, you're speeding it up because you're navigating it, you know. If you stop and you focus on slowing it down, that's what's going to happen. But a lot of us don't know how to stop. A lot of us don't know how to anchor. A lot of us don't know how to look inward, you know, because we don't get taught that. So it's speeding up because life in general is doing that. And as the frequency of the planet is rising, we are entering a space where we're closer, you know, to the 40s. So it's more fluid. We are the ones that are directing it, whether we want to speed it up or slow it down. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, you know. It's all kind of like a bit of a trial and error and learning. I go through and I'm like, where did the months go? You know, like, especially if you have like children, you're like, oh my God, like they're growing up so quickly, you know, sort of thing. But it's not just speeding up, it's also slowing down, but people are just not aware of those moments.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about the grounding piece? Because you spoke about how the importance of anchoring, and I know being embodied is very much a part of your work. So if we're working with these higher frequencies, it becomes even more important to ground. And you know, that was what I was getting from what you were saying in terms of time speeding up, you know, that we can really get kind of in a swirl, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it's so important to ground and stay present and stay anchored. Like, and you don't have to be a master meditator. You don't need to meditate for hours. Meditation is a tool like everything else. Like, it's good, it's great. If you want to do it, do it. But there's so many other ways to be grounded and present. Like, exercise is a really good one. Like, I always like, you know, I'm here to kind of like bridge the gap. And this is what I always say. I say, like, it's so important to be present in the physical. You know, like, going in nature is a good one. But if you're walking in nature and you're busy thinking about what you're going to make for dinner or what you're going to do tomorrow, then you're not really grounding and being present, you know. So you can practice being present in every single moment of your day and just sit and observe yourself, observe your responses, observe your reactions. Anything creative will ground you. Anything that brings you in the moment, anything that brings you childlike joy and happiness will be something that grounds you. So we're all different. Like, I go through phases. I mean, I have phases where I sit and do 3D puzzles. I have phases where I do like coloring books. You know, my non-negotiables are exercise. Like, I go to the gym or I walk, or recently I was skiing, which was great, you know. So like, I'll find different ways to, and I feel after a while, if I go on a break, that my body needs to move through stuff. And it's actually like, no, you need to actually like physically move through this. But everyone's different. So I give a lot of importance to the physical. I think everything needs to rise together: the mental, the spiritual, the physical, the emotional. You can only go so far if you're meditating, but then you're, you know, feeding your soul junk food or TV or whatever it is, you know. So there needs to kind of like be balance in all aspects. But yeah, there is, I mean, hundreds of methods to ground, like eating fruits and vegetables that come from the earth. Beetroots are grounding, carrots, potatoes, you know, wearing red. Like, I have red hair because it helps me stay grounded, because I work in such high vibrational frequency spaces that I actually need to be more down here. And this is why my hair is like this, yeah, in many lifetimes and decades. And I mean, when I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old, I started telling my mom that I wanted hair this color. And at the time, they hadn't even invented a dye to make hair this color. And it was just funny because, so, you know, it's just about listening to your body, you know?
So going to the other extreme now, having spoken about grounding, can you speak a little bit about your galactic connection? Because that's also a big aspect of your work.
Yeah, of course. So I first, and funny again, like the conference that I was speaking at last night was about the Pleiadians. So that's one of the first ET races that I connected to. And my first experience was, again, when I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old. This was in the 90s. They still had those old box TVs. So there were no flat screens yet. They had those like square TVs. And I remember I was at home in Milano with my parents, and we were watching like a movie, and there were the adverts in between. And this advert came on of this other show that was happening a few days from then. And this woman was being interviewed, and she looked beautiful. And she said, I come from Pleiades. And I looked at it, and I remember like something in my brain clicked, and I was like, I'm also from there. Like, I know that, like, you know, I was just like, I couldn't take my eyes off this woman saying these things. And I was like, oh my goodness, you know. So that started when I was quite young, and then I kind of like left it, and then I started into my ascension awakening process into my early teens. At like 12, 13, I was already like doing my tarot decks and kind of like, you know, connecting and meditating. And then I had a few quite intense experiences in my mid-20s, and that's when really most of these beings started showing themselves to me. I started opening up more my channel. I started meditating more. I started downloading more information. They had to prep me for when the pandemic happened. So I had to be in a space where I was able to hold space and channel and know what I was doing when the world was going through the pandemic. So my awakening happened a few years before that. It kind of like started to progress. And now, yeah, I mean, I work with this mantis being and this higher version of myself, which is a Pleiadian being, but I channel all sorts of beings. I channel groups of collective consciousness depending on what the client that I have in front of me needs. I work with their team, my team. I have a team of about 300 beings that alternate, that I call in and come and go. Sometimes it's even just like blobs of light and frequency that, you know, kind of like move and come through me. So I mean, it's kind of like, you name it, I've seen it. I've seen the most one, and there's more to see. Obviously, we always, you know, we always know a very, very small fraction, but there's some of the geometry that sometimes moves through me I can't even, there's no way that, you know, humanists can describe it, and the language sometimes can be very limiting. So yeah, I work with Arcturian technology on and off as well. I've worked with Syrian beings. I worked with Blue Avians as well. I actually had a contract with Blue Avians when I was in my mid-20s. They would actually come in and take information from me when I was channeling through my crown and third eye. It was quite interesting. I would channel and then I would feel them around, that they would like be observing me. And that lasted for a few years, and then they kind of left. So I mean, I don't really ask anymore. It's just kind of like what is needed to come through comes through, sort of thing.
Would you like to bring through some light language now? Because I know we spoke about you doing a transmission. Can you just speak a little bit before about what you're bringing through, just so people know what they're going to experience?
We're going to see, I channel in light language and English at the same time, so people will understand what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So I will say and communicate, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Okay?
Amazing.
So you can just close your eyes and start anchoring into the body as you find your comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, you breathe in light. And with every exhale, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. As you relax body, system, and energy field, you stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above, and Sandalphon to seal the grid from below. As we call on our higher selves, our spirit guides, anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space. Opening systems, opening. Trana triet korokot kraya siet korokot kraya siet koraya shira tra she korokot shkiara tra kot krua kita kasiet korokua ishinaya tra tria korokot krasie she korokua ishinaya tra tria korokot krasie she korokot krasie she korokua ni shira tra shira karakot krua sie korokot grounding, anchoring, cleaning, releasing, opening systems, 2 more light, divine rays, anchoring, 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 expanding, expanding, expanding. Shkurukut krua ishinayatra, krua kiraya shirayatra. Ishenoto kurukut krasiatre, ukurukut kratkri kuraya siratara. Shukurukut kran riatra, opening, opening, opening. Yukurukut krashiratatra, aligning, aligning. Aligning systems, aligning, attuning, attuning, aligning, attuning, 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 aligning, 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 attuning, attuning, grounding, grounding, grounding. Anchoring, 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 anchoring. Anchoring, more light, divine rays coming in, coming in, coming in, coming in, anchoring, 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 expanding, 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 expanding. Shkurkuai shirayatra. Shenaratre, atre, 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 siet kroa kieratara. Tre kiero korokot krasye shietaratra. Shietara korokot krasye shikorokot krat kreshinot korokokura ishirak lisi, 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 lisi. Letting go, 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 letting go. All that does not serve you, decoding, detangling, removing, removing. Shukorokuai shinayatra. Tre orokot krasye shirayatra. Krasye shirayatrekt. Kreasye siratara. Siratara krat krua kieratara. Kruat kieratara tara krat. Kruat kieratara tre asira ishirayatra. Shieno to korokoch kieratrat kruat kese se korokora ishirayatra. Trashinayatra. Hat korokua ishirayatra. Grounding, grounding, grounding. Anchoring, 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 anchoring. Anchoring, clean, releasing, releasing, releasing. Shikorokua ishinayatra. Shikorokua ishinayatra. Shikorokua ishinayatra. Tre korokut kutkura ishirayatra. Clean, releasing, releasing, releasing. Clean peripheral. Releasing, 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 releasing. Releasing. Anchoring, anchoring, grounding, 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 grounding. Grounding, 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 grounding. Shikorokut krai shirayatra. Korokura ishirayatra. Closing, sealing, 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 closing. Sealing, sealing, closing, 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 closing. Sealing, sealing, closing, 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 closing. Closing, 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 anchoring, anchoring, anchoring. Shiakorokut krua ishirayatra. Tre koroko ishirayatra. Kre atkiese korokut kraya shirokorokut kraya shirayatra. Shkorokut krua ishinayatra. Tre koroko kra kra krat krea sira ishirayatra. Shukrukurukura ishinayatra. Tre 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 kra trai tre ishirayatra. Ishirayatre trai tra. Ishirayatra, Shiro Kurukua Ishirayatra, Na Shirayatra, Krea Ishirayatra, Kre Kurukua Ishira, Tre Kurukua Ishira, Tre Kuruku Ishinayatra, Shit Kurukut Kraya Sia Sikuruk Umra Ishirayatra, Tre Kurukua Ishirayatra, Shikurukut Krai Ishinayatra. As you slowly come back to the body and ground back into the physical vessel, maybe moving your fingers, your toes. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. There's no rush. How are you feeling?
I could feel that. I could feel it mostly in my spine and my joints, actually.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, everyone integrates differently. Like yesterday when I was channeling, yeah, it was so funny. Neil said he felt like his spine like crack back into place. Sometimes people feel clear solar plexus, you know, whatever is needed. Takes up to 3 weeks for full integration of everything. But, you know, for everyone who's listening, you might feel like a little bit emotional in the next few days. You might feel like you need to eat more, sleep more, just kind of like listen to your body and try to stay grounded and drink lots of water.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting on how we can integrate it as well, because that's a piece that's often missed and it's so important.
It is, yeah, very important.
There's a whole piece of your work that we haven't spoken about, and that is your grid work. Lots of people are doing this at the moment. I'm very curious as to how you work with Earth's energy. We've had a whole stream of people talking about working with Mother Gaia actually on my channel recently, so it's a good follow-up.
Yeah, so I mean, I've worked in different ways with different grids. I actually held a lecture on this last year at the Conscious Life Expo, specifically on grid work, because it was quite like a, well, it still is quite like a interesting topic. So for me, it really depends. Like I will be doing grid work wherever I literally walk and anchor in with my system and energy field, just because of the team and vibrational frequency that I carry. I will do intentional grid work when I get called to specific places. So like I think 2 years ago, I had to clear like the catacombs below Manhattan. So I had to do quite intense work in that place and in that area. So it really, really depends kind of like where I get called to. Sometimes it's like these like huge and vast like pieces of land that I get called to go and clear. Sometimes it's people's properties. But for me, my grid work is like consistent. Wherever I land, wherever I anchor within my system and energy field, like I'll already be doing grid work there. Like just by me being there, I'm already working on the grid basically. And I always see the interesting thing when I land the second time in a place, I can feel that my grid is more integrated. And sometimes it's like, okay, now enough, you don't need to be here anymore. So it's funny because I was in Manhattan for 2 years in a row, doing grid work. And this year I was like, okay, I was tuning in. Do I need to go back? They were like, no, 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 your contract's done with Manhattan for a few years. You don't actually need to go back if you don't want to. So I work intuitively. It's a very like, I mean, I think my lecture is up on my YouTube. If anyone is interested, it's about 90 minutes. And I speak about, because there's so many different grids. There's the galactic grid, the Akashic grid, the collective consciousness grid. There's the 3D grid, the 4D astral grid. There's the 5D grid. There's the planetary grid. There's the solar grid. There's the universal grid. There's grids that connect to other universes. So grid work is a very generic term. Like most people are working with the planetary grid, so with Earth and with Gaia. I work with the other ones as well, but most of the work that is done at this moment in time is between Gaia and the solar system. Yeah.
I'll put the link to that video in the description so that people
Yeah.
can find it easily. And I love what you're saying, you know, because as we raise our vibration and do our shadow work, we then become like acupuncture needles in a way. And
Yeah.
you know, we're bringing those higher frequencies and helping the earth shift, and she's helping us shift. It becomes very kind of symbiotic in that way. So in terms of just what I've mentioned, that doing the shadow work, I know your work is very much about kind of clearing those memories, working with the DNA and the cellular memory. Is that mostly through light work, or do you do any other kind of healing that helps to shift that density?
Well, I mean, I do a lot of somatic embodiment. So I am a qualified multi-Kundalini yoga teacher. I do trauma release exercises as well. Obviously, like my in-person trainings are different to my online trainings, but there's so many different modalities that I use and I help people with. And again, I work organically with every client. So some person might need more physical approach, while someone else might need a more psychic approach to whatever it is that they, want to achieve.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we finish up today? And how can people find you? I'll put your links underneath in the description.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I offer a lot of different courses on my website. I am currently offering a retreat in Mexico in November. So that will be very beautiful. We're going to be working with the ancient pyramids in Mexico and activating galactic DNA. So that's going to be very, very powerful. I do have an event coming up on the 5/5 portal called Galactic Conference. It's an online event. There'll be a lot of lovely speakers. There's going to be me, Jerry Sargent, Sasha Stone, Megan Solarglow will be on it as well. Neil Gore from Portal to Ascension is going to be on it too. And also David's going to be on it from Awaken magazine. So there's a lot of beautiful people that are going to be coming in and talking there. Then I will be in Glastonbury at the end of August. I don't really do a lot of public appearances. I'm doing 3 public appearances this year. So the first one will be at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles in February, where I'm also holding a training. Then there will be Glastonbury in August, and then I'm going to be doing my Mexico retreat in November. So if any of you want to see me in person or train with me in person, that's the appearances that I'll be doing. But otherwise, I do hold 6-week and 6-month program and trainings online, once-off sessions, and I've got about maybe like 40 different workshops on my websites that you can download as well. And I'm launching a membership portal within the next month or 2.
Amazing. So do check out Althea, and thank you so much for coming on today. It's been wonderful chatting with you. And hopefully we'll get to connect in Glastonbury in August. Looking forward to that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Have you been to Glastonbury before?
Oh, it's my first time.
Oh, wow. You're going to love it. There's so many magical places to connect with there.
I've heard. Yeah. I've seen and I've heard. Yeah, I've seen like photos and stuff and I've heard. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks so much for everyone for listening in. Bye for now.